Today we're going to be making a Cajun beef stew, and let's review the ingredients that you'll need for this recipe. First, you'll need 2.5 pounds of beef chuck, round steak, or stew meat cut into cubes. You'll need 4 cups of beef broth, 8 red or yellow potatoes cut into quarters. You'll need 2 yellow onions diced. You'll need 2 stalks of celery, also diced. And you'll need 1 green bell pepper chopped into medium dice. You'll also need 1/3 cup of flour, 1/4 cup of your favorite Cajun seasoning, 2 tablespoons of butter, 2 tablespoons of vegetable oil, a tablespoon of salt, and 2 tablespoons of tomato paste. Let's begin the process. First, you're going to take your beef, put it into a mixing bowl, and add your Cajun seasoning, and your salt, and flour. The flour is going to act as a roux or a thickening agent later on. So you want to massage the meat, make sure it's well seasoned, and thoroughly incorporate all of the ingredients together here in the mixing bowl. So this part can be a little bit messy, so I like to wash my hands in between. But once the meat is well incorporated, you're going to move over to your stove and heat up your large saute pan on medium-high heat. You're going to want to make sure you have a side dish here so that you can hold the meat for later on in the process. So first thing you're going to do is heat up your olive oil. My stove, this is probably number 6.5 or 7. And you're going to want to use a nice heavy bottom skillet, or in some cases a Dutch oven. Cast iron works really well too, and ideally you'll want a pan with a lid. You're going to want to get your pan nice and hot. This part is going to be what we refer to as searing the beef. So once the beef is all seared, you're going to put it over in your pan and you're going to saute your vegetables. And you're going to add in your tomato paste. So I'm holding my meat back here in the stove. I was careful to saute it really well. And now I'm going to add in this tomato paste, which is going to add a lot of flavor and act as the base for the sauce for this dish. So you want to stir that well. And you're going to want to cook it until the tomato paste starts to caramelize or get a little golden brown. And you'll start to see this in the pan shortly, that the natural sugars and the tomato paste will start to caramelize. That's going to add a lot of really great flavor to this beef stew. Now that you've got the tomato paste caramelized, you're going to take your beef, add it back into the pan. Make sure you get those good juices in there too. All of that adds flavor to your stew. We're going to add in our potatoes. We're going to mix all of these ingredients together. And this helps to coat the potatoes and the vegetables and the beef and all of the different seasonings and ingredients right now before we add our beef broth. So I'm going to increase the heat a little bit. And now I'm going to get ready to add the beef broth. You want to make sure you have your lid nearby. And then you're going to bring this up to a boil. Once it comes up to a boil, You're going to reduce the heat, cover your pan, and let it simmer for 1 hour until the beef is thoroughly cooked and tender. So now that our beef stew is up to a boil, we got a nice simmer. I'm going to make sure that the beef is nice and tender. So it's probably on a medium heat. On my stove, it's probably a number 4, 4.5, or 5. And here we come back an hour later, and we can see that the beef broth has reduced. We have a really nice gravy, and the beef is nice and tender and thoroughly cooked. In the culinary world, we refer to tenderness as fork tender, and so you know that your meat is tender when you can take 2 forks and basically shred it apart without having to use a knife. So here's our finished product. We garnished it with some fresh herbs. This goes great with a nice piece of corn.